A 12-year-old boy slipped into a cemetery at midnight and left a note on a biker's grave. When the motorcycle club read it, their engines roared in fury. The note said, "I know who killed my mom. They're coming for me next." What they didn't know, the boy had evidence that would bring down an empire, and he was the son no one knew she had. The rain hit Lucas Cole's face like cold needles, but he didn't care. At 12 years old, he'd learned that some things mattered more than comfort. Some things mattered more than safety. Thunder cracked overhead as he squeezed through the rusted cemetery gates, his sneakers sinking into mud with each step. The plastic bag in his jacket crackled with every movement, and he pressed it tighter against his chest. Inside was everything, the truth his Aunt Rachel had hidden from him for 3 years, the truth that woke him up screaming most nights. The tombstone stretched out like crooked teeth in the darkness. Lucas knew exactly where to go. He'd memorized the path from satellite images on the library computer, counting rows and measuring distances. Row 7, plot 14. His mother's grave. Marina Viper Cole. 1985 to 2022, she rode free. Lucas dropped to his knees in the mud, not bothering to wipe the rain from his eyes. Maybe it was better this way, the water disguised his tears. "I'm sorry I waited so long, Mom," he whispered, pulling the plastic bag from his jacket. Inside was a sealed envelope and a small USB drive wrapped in waterproof tape. His hands shook as he placed them against the cold granite. "I was scared. I'm still scared." "But you weren't scared of anything, were you?" A lightning flash illuminated the engraved motorcycle on her headstone. Lucas traced it with one finger, remembering the photographs Aunt Rachel had finally shown him last month. His mother, leather jacket, wild smile, surrounded by men and women who looked like they'd fight gods if they had to. The Serpent's Motorcycle Club. The family his mother had died protecting. Lucas pressed his forehead against the stone. "They're coming for me next. Aunt Rachel doesn't know I figured it out, but I did. The same people who killed you, they know I exist now. I found your hiding spot, Mom. I found everything." Headlights swept across the cemetery gates. Lucas's heart stopped. They'd found him. Already. He'd been so careful, waited until Aunt Rachel took her sleeping pills, disabled the motion sensor on his window, walked 4 miles in the rain. But somehow. The growl of motorcycle engines cut through the storm. Not cars. Bikes. Multiple bikes. Lucas scrambled behind a nearby monument, pressing himself against the wet marble. Through the rain, he watched 5 motorcycles roll through the cemetery gates, headlights cutting through the darkness like searchlights. The riders wore leather cuts, vests with patches, and even from 50 feet away, Lucas could see the serpent design coiled across their backs. His mother's club. They came here. Tonight. In the storm. The lead rider killed his engine and dismounted. He was massive, shoulders like a linebacker, gray streaking through his black beard. He walked with the confidence of a man who'd never backed down from anything. The others followed, for more riders, men and women, all wearing the same colors. Lucas watched as they approached his mother's grave, forming a semicircle around it. The big man removed his helmet, revealing a scarred face that somehow looked kind despite its hardness. 3 years, Viper, the man said, his voice carrying despite the rain. 3 years and it still doesn't feel real. A woman with short red hair stepped forward, placing a single white rose on the grave. "We miss you, sister. Every damn day." Lucas's breath caught. These weren't strangers. These were his mother's family. The people she'd trusted with her life. The people who'd been at her funeral while he watched from a car with tinted windows, hidden away like a secret. The big man knelt, and that's when Lucas saw his expression change. He'd noticed the envelope. "Reyes," one of the other bikers said, a younger guy with tattoos climbing up his neck. "What's that?" Reyes, the leader, Lucas guessed, picked up the envelope carefully, turning it over. Even from his hiding spot, Lucas could see his own handwriting on the front. To the Serpent's MC. From Marina Cole's son. Son, the red-haired woman breathed. Viper didn't have a. Open it, Reyes said quietly. The other bikers crowded closer as Reyes tore open the envelope. His eyes scanned the letter, and with each passing second, his expression hardened into something dangerous. Something furious. When he finished, he looked up at the others. Rain streamed down his face, but his eyes burned. What's it say? The tattooed biker asked. Reyes's voice came out like gravel. It says, I know who killed my mom. They're going to kill me next. The USB has everything, photos, recordings, names. My mom was murdered by the Rojas cartel for the evidence she collected. It wasn't an accident. It was never an accident. I'm 12 years old and I don't know who else to trust. Please. She died protecting you. Now I need you to protect me. The silence that followed was heavier than the storm. Then the red-haired woman swore. She was pregnant. During the investigation. We thought she'd quit because. She quit to protect him, Reyes finished. He looked down at the USB drive in his palm like it was a live grenade. She hid him to keep him safe from exactly what's happening now. Where is he? The tattooed biker demanded, scanning the cemetery. If he left this, he could still be close. If the cartel's tracking him. I'm here. Lucas stepped out from behind the monument. 5 pairs of eyes locked onto him instantly, and for a moment, he thought he'd made a terrible mistake. These were dangerous people. His mother's people, yes, but he was still just a kid who'd interrupted their memorial. Then Reyes saw his face. The big man's expression shattered into something Lucas couldn't quite name. Recognition, maybe. Or grief. Or both. You have her eyes, Reyes whispered. Jesus Christ, kid. You have Marina's eyes. Lucas walked forward on shaking legs until he stood before them. Up close, they were even more intimidating, scarred, tattooed, armed. But his mother had trusted them. She died protecting their club. Now he had to trust them too. My name is Lucas Cole, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. And I need your help. Because the people who killed my mom just figured out I'm alive, and they're coming for me tonight. As if on cue, headlights appeared at the cemetery gates. Real headlights this time. 3 black SUVs, moving fast. Reyes grabbed Lucas by the shoulder and pulled him close. How long have they been following you? I don't know. I thought I was careful. Doesn't matter now. Reyes shoved his helmet into Lucas's hands. You're getting on my bike. Everyone else, formation. We've got company, and they're not here to talk. The SUVs screeched to a stop at the gates. Doors opened. Men emerged with guns. And the Serpent's engines roared to life like thunder. The abandoned truck stop diner sat like a corpse off Route 9, its neon sign long dead, windows boarded with plywood that had weathered gray. Reyes killed his engine in the gravel lot, and the other 4 bikes followed suit. The sudden silence felt wrong after the chaos of their escape. Lucas climbed off the back of Reyes's Harley, his legs trembling. His heart still hammered from the chase, the gunfire behind them, the way the Serpents had split up at the highway junction, drawing the SUVs in 3 different directions. Only 2 vehicles had followed their group, and they'd lost them in the industrial district using shortcuts only locals knew. Inside, Reyes ordered, already moving toward the diner's side entrance. The red-haired woman, Snake, they'd called her during the ride, had a lockpick out before they reached the door. 30 seconds later, they were in. The interior smelled of mold and old grease. Rain hammered the roof as Snake clicked on a battery-powered lantern, casting shadows across overturned chairs and a counter thick with dust. The tattooed biker, Rufio, immediately moved to the windows, keeping watch. Reyes pulled out a chair and pointed at it. Sit. Talk. Start from the beginning. Lucas sat, gripping the USB drive so hard his knuckles went white. 5 bikers stared at him, waiting. He'd imagined this moment 100 times, but now that it was here, the words stuck in his throat. My mom never told you she was pregnant, he finally said. Did she? Reyes shook his head slowly. She left the club 4 years ago. Said she needed a break, wanted to go straight for a while. We respected that. She was always welcome back, but, he paused. She never came back. Because she was protecting me, Lucas's voice cracked. After I was born, she moved to her sister's place 2 states over. That's my Aunt Rachel. Mom used a different last name for me, Walker, not Cole. She told everyone I was Rachel's kid from a previous relationship. Snake crouched in front of him, her expression softening. Smart woman. The cartel had people looking for leverage against us back then. If they'd known Viper had a son, they'd have used him to control her, Reyes finished grimly. Or worse. Lucas nodded. Mom visited sometimes, but not often. She said it was safer that way. Then 3 years ago, Aunt Rachel got a call. They said there'd been an accident. Mom's truck went off a bridge during a rainstorm. They said she died instantly. We were at that funeral, the 4th biker spoke up, an older man with silver hair. Half the state's riders showed up. It tore us apart. It wasn't an accident, Lucas set the USB on the table between them like evidence in a trial. Last month, Aunt Rachel finally told me the truth. She said I was old enough to know who my real mom was. She showed me pictures, told me stories. And she gave me a key to a storage unit Mom had rented under a fake name. Reyes leaned forward. What was in it? Everything. Lucas's hands shook as he spoke. Cameras, recording equipment, files, maps. Mom was investigating the Rojas cartel. She'd been doing it for months before she died. She had photos of their gun shipments, recordings of their lieutenants talking about trafficking routes. She had bank records proving they were paying off cops and customs officials. The bikers exchanged dark looks. Why? Snake asked quietly. Why would Viper risk that? She'd left the life. She had you to think about. Lucas's eyes burned with tears he refused to shed. There was a letter. She wrote it to me, in case something happened. She said the cartel was trafficking women, young women, some barely older than kids. She said she couldn't live with herself knowing that and doing nothing. She said, he swallowed hard. She said some fights are worth dying for. Silence filled the diner except for the rain. Reyes picked up the USB, turning it over in his scarred hands. And this is her evidence? Copies of everything. I made it from the files in storage. Photos, audio recordings, documents. Names, faces, dates, locations. She had it all. Lucas looked up, meeting Reyes's eyes. The truck accident happened 2 days after she told Aunt Rachel she was almost ready to go public. She was going to take it to the FBI. Instead, someone ran her off that bridge. How do you know it was them? Rufio challenged from the window. How do you know it wasn't really an accident? Because last week, someone broke into Aunt Rachel's house while we were at the grocery store. Lucas's voice went flat. They didn't take anything. They just left a message spray-painted on my bedroom wall. We know about the boy. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. That's when Aunt Rachel told me everything, about Mom's investigation, the storage unit, all of it. She's terrified. She wanted to run, disappear. But Lucas straightened in his chair. I found Mom's recordings. I listened to her voice. She knew she might die, and she did it anyway because someone had to stop them. I can't let that be for nothing. Reyes stood abruptly, walking to the window. When he spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. Viper was the bravest person I ever knew. Saved my life twice. And we let her die thinking she was alone in that fight. You didn't know, Lucas said. We should have. Reyes turned back, and Lucas saw fury burning in his eyes, not at him, but at the world. We're going to make this right, kid. Whatever's on that drive, we're going to finish what your mother started. Snake stood too, her jaw set. The serpents protect their own. Always have. And you're Viper's son, that makes you family. Lucas felt something break open in his chest. For 3 years, he'd been alone with this secret, this grief. Now, finally, he had allies. So what do we do? He asked. Reyes plugged the USB into his phone, his expression hardening as files began to load. Now? He looked up, eyes blazing. Now we go to war. The Serpent's clubhouse was a fortress disguised as a warehouse on the edge of town, surrounded by chain-link fence and razor wire. By the time they arrived, dawn was breaking through the storm clouds, painting everything in shades of gray and gold. Lucas had never seen anything like it. The main room sprawled open with pool tables, a bar, motorcycle parts scattered across workbenches, and walls covered in photographs of riders past and present. But what caught his attention was the faces. At least 20 more serpents had gathered since Reyes made his calls during the ride. They all stared at Lucas as he walked in. This is Lucas Cole, Reyes announced, his voice carrying across the room. Viper's son. Anyone got a problem with that? Silence. Then a woman with gray braids stepped forward, tears streaming down her weathered face. Viper had a baby, she whispered. All this time. And the cartel just found out, Snake added grimly. Which means we've got work to do. Clear the room, officers only. Everyone else, guard rotations. No one gets within 2 blocks of this building without us knowing. The crowd dispersed with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, only 6 people remained: Reyes, Snake, Rufio, the silver-haired biker called Doc, Lucas, and an older man with a mechanical leg who introduced himself as Iron Mike, the club's vice president. Reyes led them to a back room that looked more like a command center than a biker clubhouse. Computer monitors lined one wall, communications equipment hummed quietly, and a large table dominated the center. He pulled out a laptop, a secure one, Lucas noticed, with encrypted drives and air-gapped from any network. Show us, Reyes said. Lucas handed over the USB. His hands had finally stopped shaking, replaced by a cold determination that felt borrowed from his mother's memory. The files loaded. Hundreds of them. Photographs appeared first. Men in expensive suits shaking hands with others in cartel colors. Shipping containers being loaded at docks. License plates, faces, warehouse locations. Lucas's mother had been meticulous, dating and labeling everything. Jesus Christ, Doc breathed. She documented their entire operation. Look at these names, Snake pointed at a spreadsheet. Martinez, Rodriguez, Castillo, these are the Rojas cartel's top lieutenants. And here, her finger moved to another column. Bank transfers. Millions of dollars moving through shell companies. Rufio leaned closer. Those symbols. I recognize them, he looked at Reyes. Remember when Viper was still with us? She kept asking about that warehouse fire in 2019, the one where those girls were found locked inside? Reyes's expression darkened. She thought it was connected to trafficking. We told her to drop it, that it was police business. She didn't drop it, Lucas said quietly. She just stopped asking you about it. Iron Mike scrolled through more files, his mechanical leg whirring slightly as he shifted weight. These shipping manifests match routes we flagged 3 years ago. We thought the cartel had moved on, but they just got better at hiding. Then Reyes clicked on a folder labeled Audio, Final Recordings. The room went silent as a woman's voice filled the air, strong, clear, alive. Marina, Viper, Cole. Lucas closed his eyes, every word carving into his heart. Recording 7, April 19, 2022. I'm at the Port Elizabeth warehouse again. They're getting sloppy. 3 trucks arrived tonight without proper paperwork. I photographed the license plates and got audio of the guards talking. They mentioned fresh inventory arriving from Tijuana next week. That's their code for women. A pause. Background noise of distant voices and machinery. I know this is dangerous. I know what happens if they catch me. But I keep thinking about those girls from the warehouse fire. 16 and 17 years old, locked in like animals. Nobody even reported them missing because nobody cared. Her voice hardened with resolve. Someone has to care. Someone has to stop this. And if the serpents knew what I was doing, they'd try to stop me or help me, and either way, it puts them at risk. The club's already on thin ice with law enforcement. They can't afford my crusade. Another pause, longer this time. If something happens to me. God, I hope it doesn't. I hope Lucas grows up never knowing any of this ugliness. But if the worst happens, someone needs to finish this. These files are insurance. Evidence. Truth. The cartel can kill me, but they can't kill what I've documented. Someone will find this. Someone will make it right. The recording ended. Lucas opened his eyes to find every person in the room staring at the laptop with expressions of grief and rage mixed together. There are 19 more recordings, Reyes said quietly, his finger hovering over the play button. All from the 2 weeks before she died. They listened to all of them. Each one revealed more of Marina's investigation, names of corrupt officials, descriptions of cartel operations, details about planned shipments. In the final recording, dated 2 days before her death, her voice carried an edge of excitement. I have enough. Tomorrow, I'm taking everything to Agent Sarah Chen at the FBI field office. She's clean, I've verified it. This ends soon. These monsters won't hurt anyone else. But it hadn't ended. Someone had made sure Marina never reached that meeting. When the last recording finished, Reyes stood abruptly, his chair scraping across concrete. He walked to the wall, pressing his forehead against it, shoulders shaking. Snake spoke into the silence. The symbols in these photos, they match the markings from our own investigation 3 years ago. Before Viper died, we were tracking cartel movements through the industrial district. After she died, she paused. We assumed it was grief, but we lost our leads. Everything went cold. Because she was the lead, Iron Mike said. She was ahead of all of us. Doc pulled up another file, a photograph time-stamped 2 hours before Marina's death. It showed a black truck at a gas station. In the driver's window, partially visible, a face. Rufio leaned in, then recoiled. I know him. That's Victor Rojas. The cartel boss's nephew. He followed her, Lucas said, his voice hollow. He knew where she was going, and he stopped her. Reyes turned back to face them, and Lucas saw something terrifying in his eyes, not anger, but cold, calculated fury. Viper was murdered, Reyes said. We all knew something felt wrong about that accident, but we didn't push. We let them bury her as another dead biker, another statistic. We failed her. So what do we do? Snake asked. Reyes looked at Lucas, then back at his officers. We finish her mission. We burn the Rojas cartel to the ground. And we make damn sure her son lives to see it done. 20 miles across town, In a quiet suburban neighborhood where American flags hung from porches and children's bicycles dotted front yards, Rachel Walker's house looked exactly like every other home on Maple Street. Except for the unmarked sedan parked 3 houses down, engine idling. Inside the car, Diego Vance checked his phone for the 3rd time in 10 minutes. The message was clear: the boy made contact with the serpents. Retrieve him. Use any force necessary. Diego was good at his job. 15 years as a professional problem solver for the Rojas cartel had taught him patience, precision, and the value of appearing ordinary. Right now, he looked like a tired salesman in a wrinkled suit, not a man who'd disappeared 17 people over his career. He watched Rachel Walker's house through tinted windows. Lights off. No movement. The woman's car sat in the driveway. She was home, which meant the boy should be too. But Diego had learned to trust his instincts, and something felt wrong. He waited until full daylight, watching neighbors leave for work, a mail carrier making rounds. Normal suburban morning. Then he stepped out of the car, straightened his tie, and walked up the driveway carrying a clipboard like he belonged there. The front door was locked. Diego smiled. Amateurs always thought locks mattered. 45 seconds later, he was inside. The house smelled like coffee and lavender air freshener. Family photos lined the hallway, Rachel with various friends, but notably absent were any photos of children. The cover story held up on the surface. Diego moved through the living room, kitchen, checking each space methodically. Nothing obviously out of place. No signs of hasty packing. In the kitchen, a coffee mug sat in the sink, still damp. Morning coffee, not finished. She'd left in a hurry. He climbed the stairs, boots silent on carpeted steps. 3 bedrooms upstairs. The master bedroom was tidy, bed made. Second bedroom converted to a home office, computer still on, screen dark. The 3rd bedroom belonged to the boy. Diego stood in the doorway, analyzing. Bed made but rumpled, someone had sat on it recently. Closet partially open, a few empty hangers suggesting clothes taken quickly. On the desk, school textbook stacked neatly, a pencil cup, a lamp. And on the wall above the bed, barely visible in the morning light filtering through curtains, scorch marks. Diego stepped closer. The marks formed a rough circle about 3 feet wide, the paint bubbled and discolored. He touched it, cold now, but recently burned. He sniffed. Chemical accelerant, probably lighter fluid. They'd tried to erase something. He pulled out a UV flashlight from his jacket, clicked it on, and swept the beam across the wall. Ghost traces appeared, spray paint that had been burned away but left residue in the drywall beneath. Letters. A message. We know about the boy. Diego's jaw tightened. Someone on his team had gotten overeager, tipped their hand too early. The whole point was to grab the kid quietly, make it look like a runaway situation. Instead, some idiot had warned them. He photographed the marks, then moved to the desk. Opened drawers carefully. School papers, art supplies, a collection of small rocks, typical kid stuff. But in the bottom drawer, hidden under a false bottom he almost missed, a folder. Inside, printed articles about his mother's death. Newspaper clippings, accident reports, obituaries. And handwritten notes in a child's careful script. Truck went off bridge at 11:47 p.m. Rain, but not heavy. Mom was a good driver, Aunt Rachel said so. Why would she lose control? No witnesses. Police report filed by Officer J. Martinez. Same Martinez from Mom's photos? Brake failure listed as cause. But who checked the brakes? When? The boy had been investigating. Diego photographed the notes and continued searching. Under the bed, he found a backpack, emergency supplies, bottled water, protein bars, a change of clothes. The kid had been preparing to run. In the closet, pushed to the back, a box containing old photographs. Diego flipped through them. Marina Cole on a motorcycle, laughing. Marina with other bikers, all wearing serpent's cuts. Marina pregnant, glowing, her hand on her swollen belly. And one photo that made Diego pause. Marina with a man, clearly the club leader based on his posture and patches. They stood in front of motorcycles, her arm around his shoulders. On the back, in faded ink, Reyes, Family Forever. 2018 inch. Reyes. The Serpent's president. Diego pocketed that photo and kept searching. In the nightstand beside the boy's bed, he found one more thing, a library card and receipt. Books checked out 2 weeks ago, basic photography, digital security for beginners, how to encrypt files. The kid was smarter than expected. Diego descended the stairs and moved to the home office. He woke the computer, password protected, but he had tools for that. 5 minutes later, he was inside. Browser history showed searches for Rojas cartel arrests, motorcycle club protection, and most concerning, how to contact FBI anonymously. The boy had copies. He had to. Marina Cole was too smart to keep only one set of evidence. Diego pulled out his phone and called his handler. The house is empty. They ran, probably last night. The boy's been investigating his mother's death, and he's figured out enough to be dangerous. Where is he now? The voice on the other end was cold, precise. With the serpents. I'm sure of it. There's evidence of contact, and the woman wouldn't know where else to take him. A pause. The serpent's clubhouse is fortified. We can't move on it directly without drawing too much attention. Diego walked back upstairs, stood in the boy's room one more time. Something caught his eye, a poster on the wall, partially covering the scorch marks. He lifted the corner. Behind it, written in permanent marker, hidden until the poster was moved, a phone number and 3 words. Mom's insurance policy. Diego photographed it, then let the poster fall back into place. I have a lead, he said into the phone. But we need to move fast. If the boy gives the serpents access to Marina's evidence, we're exposed. The entire operation is compromised. How many serpents are we talking about? Diego thought about the photographs downstairs, the patches, the size of the club. At least 30 active members, maybe more. They're organized, armed, and now they're motivated. That kid is Viper's son, they'll protect him like one of their own. Another pause, longer this time. Victor wants the boy silenced. Whatever it takes. But make it look like club violence, a gang dispute that got out of hand. We can't have this traced back to us. Diego smiled without humor. Understood. But boss? This won't be quick or clean. The serpents aren't amateurs. Neither are you. Get it done. The line went dead. Diego took one last look around the house, memorizing details, then walked out the front door like he'd never been there. As he reached his car, his phone buzzed with a new message, coordinates and a photograph. The Serpent's clubhouse location. And a surveillance photo of a boy with dark hair and haunted eyes, standing between bikers. Lucas Cole. Diego started his engine and pulled away from Maple Street, already planning. The Serpents thought they could protect the boy, thought their fortress and numbers made them safe. They were wrong. Everyone had weaknesses. Every fortress had cracks. He just had to find them. And he was very, very good at his job. By noon, the Serpent's clubhouse had transformed into a war room. Maps covered the table, marked with red circles indicating cartel-controlled territories and blue X's showing serpent-friendly zones. Lucas sat in the corner, exhausted but too wired to sleep, watching the bikers plan. We can't keep him here, Snake argued, pointing at the map. The clubhouse is our stronghold, but it's also the first place they'll look. We're sitting ducks. We're fortified, Ruffio countered. 20 brothers outside, cameras on every corner. They'd need an army to breach these walls. They have an army, Doc said quietly. The Rojas cartel moves product through 6 states. They have resources we can't match in a straight fight. Reyes stood at the head of the table, arms crossed, listening to every argument. Finally, he raised a hand for silence. We split, he announced. Half of us take Lucas to the safe house on Crimson Lake, the cabin Doc's uncle left him. It's remote, off-grid, defensible. The other half stays here and starts digging into these cartel connections. We need to know exactly who we're fighting and where they operate. Iron Mike nodded approval. Smart. Divided targets, harder to track. Who takes the boy? I do, Reyes said immediately. Snake, Doc, you're with me. Ruffio, you lead the investigation team here. Mike, coordinate with our contacts in law enforcement, the clean ones, if any exist. Ruffio stepped forward, his expression hard. The kid should stay here. He's Viper's son, we all want to protect him. But splitting our forces makes us weaker. What if they hit both locations? Then we fight at both locations, Reyes said flatly. But Lucas stays alive. That's non-negotiable. Lucas stood up, his voice cutting through the tension. I should stay here. Every head turned toward him. Lucas, Snake started. Listen to me, Lucas interrupted, surprising himself with his own boldness. My mom spent months gathering evidence. She documented faces, names, locations. I've studied those files for weeks. I have a photographic memory, I can identify anyone from her pictures. If you're investigating, you need me here. Reyes walked over, crouching to Lucas's eye level. Kid, your safety is the priority. Your mom died protecting you. We're not letting that sacrifice be for nothing. My mom died trying to stop the cartel, Lucas shot back. Hiding me in a cabin doesn't finish what she started. You said we're going to war, well, I know the enemy. I know their faces from her photographs, their names from her recordings. I can tell you which cop is dirty, which warehouse they use, which. Absolutely not, Reyes said firmly. You're 12 years old. I'm 12 years old and they already want me dead. Lucas's voice cracked. Hiding won't change that. They'll find me eventually. But if we use what I know, if we move fast, maybe we can stop them first. The room fell silent. Ruffio approached, studying Lucas with new interest. The kid has a point. If he can identify cartel operatives from Viper's surveillance, that's an asset we can't ignore. How good is this photographic memory? Lucas met his gaze. Test me. Ruffio pulled out his phone, opened one of Marina's photo files, and showed Lucas an image for 5 seconds, a blurry shot of 3 men standing near a shipping container. What did you see? Lucas closed his eyes. 3 men. The one on the left had a scar over his right eyebrow and wore a silver watch. Middle guy had a tattoo on his neck, looked like a scorpion. Right side guy was bald with a gold tooth. The shipping container behind them was numbered C-4471. License plate on the truck partially visible, HGT 23-inch. Ruffio checked the photo details, his eyebrows rising. He's right. Every detail. Snake exchanged a look with Reyes. That's actually impressive. It's also dangerous, Doc warned. The cartel's not stupid. If they figure out Lucas can identify their people, they'll hit us harder and faster. Lucas stepped closer to the table, placing his hands on the map. Then let them come. My mom wasn't afraid. Neither am I. Reyes stood, his expression torn between admiration and frustration. "You have her fire," he said quietly. "That same stubborn, reckless, beautiful fire that got her killed." "It got her killed trying to save people," Lucas corrected. "There's a difference." The silence stretched until Iron Mike cleared his throat. "Compromise. We split as planned, but Lucas goes with the investigation team. He stays inside, under guard at all times, only identifies photos and recordings. He doesn't leave this building, doesn't go near windows, doesn't take risks. At the first sign of trouble, we evacuate him to Crimson Lake. Deal?" Reyes looked at Lucas for a long moment, then sighed. "Deal. But Lucas, you follow every order without question. I promised your mother I'd protect this club. Now I'm promising her I'll protect you. Don't make me break that promise." Lucas nodded solemnly. "I won't." Within an hour, the split was complete. Reyes, Snake, and Doc mounted their bikes along with 8 other serpents, roaring off to establish a perimeter and search for cartel surveillance. That left 12 serpents at the clubhouse, including Rufio, Iron Mike, and Lucas. Rufio set up a laptop in the back room and pulled up Marina's files. "All right, kid. Let's see what you've got. Start with this photo." For the next 3 hours, Lucas worked through images methodically. He identified cartel lieutenants, dirty cops, warehouse locations, corrupt dock workers. Each identification got cross-referenced with known intelligence, building a network map of the Rojas cartel's operation. "This guy," Lucas pointed at a photo of a man in a business suit. "He's in 12 different pictures spanning 4 months. Always near the docks. Mom's notes say he's a customs official, but he's meeting with cartel members in every shot." Rufio made notes. "Name? Gerald Hoskins. She recorded him taking bribes. The audio file is labeled, Hoskins, Payoff, March 2022. Iron Mike pulled up the recording. They listened to a man's voice discussing shipping manifests and payment schedules, casual corruption, business as usual. "We can use this," Rufio said grimly. "Build a case, find pressure points. Your mom did good work, Lucas." Lucas felt a swell of pride mixed with grief. She was trying to save people. A serpent named Hatch burst into the room, breathing hard. "Rufio, we've got movement. 3 vehicles circling the block, black SUVs, tinted windows. They're not even trying to hide it." Everyone moved at once. Rufio grabbed Lucas by the shoulder. "Stay behind me. Mike, lock down the exits. Hatch, get the heavy weapons. Everyone else, defensive positions." Lucas's heart hammered as they moved through the clubhouse. Serpents took positions at windows, rifles and shotguns appearing from hidden stashes. The casual atmosphere from earlier evaporated, replaced by cold, military precision. Through a gap in the blinds, Lucas saw the SUVs, 3 of them, circling slowly like sharks. "They're not attacking," Iron Mike observed. "Just watching. Intimidation. Or counting our numbers," Rufio said darkly. "Seeing how many of us stayed behind." One SUV stopped directly in front of the clubhouse. The rear window rolled down, revealing a man in expensive sunglasses. He looked directly at the building and smiled. Then all 3 vehicles drove away. "They know we're split," Lucas whispered. Rufio's jaw tightened. "Yeah. They know. Which means they're planning something. The question is, do they hit us here, or do they go after Reyes and the others?" His phone rang. Reyes's name flashed on the screen. "Talk to me," Rufio answered. Lucas couldn't hear the other side, but he watched Rufio's expression darken. "How many?" "Jesus." "All right, hold position. We're secure here for now." He hung up and looked at Iron Mike. They found the Crimson Lake cabin. Someone torched it an hour ago. Reyes and the others arrived to find it burning. They're pushing us, Mike said. Eliminating options, tightening the noose. Lucas felt cold dread settle in his stomach. The cartel wasn't just coming for him. They were coming for everyone. 2 days of lockdown in the clubhouse had turned Lucas's nerves into live wires. The Serpents rotated guard shifts, tracked cartel movements, and compiled evidence from Marina's files, but the waiting felt like slow suffocation. Then Reyes made a decision. "We need to go public," he announced during an emergency meeting. The cartel's power comes from operating in shadows. Marina understood that. It's why she gathered evidence. "We shine a light on them, we strip away their protection." "Go public how?" Snake asked. "We can't just walk into a police station. Half the cops in this city are on the cartel's payroll." Reyes looked at Lucas. "Your mom trusted someone outside the club. In her recordings, she mentioned taking everything to the FBI. But before that, she talked about a journalist. Someone who helped her understand what she was documenting." Lucas's eyes widened. "Nadia Raines. Mom mentioned her in one of the letters I found. She said Nadia was the only reporter who cared about the trafficking victims." "Find her," Reyes ordered. It took Iron Mike less than an hour. Nadia Raines worked for the Metro Independent, a small but respected newspaper based 40 miles north in the city. Her investigative pieces on organized crime had won state awards, and she had a reputation for protecting sources. By dusk, they were moving. Reyes, Snake, Rufio, and Lucas, with 4 other Serpents riding escort. They took backroads, switched routes 3 times, and arrived at the Metro Independent offices just as the sun disappeared behind concrete buildings. The newsroom occupied the 3rd floor of a converted factory building. Through the windows, Lucas could see reporters hunched over computers, the blue glow of screens illuminating tired faces. They took the stairs. Elevators were traps. Rufio went first, then Reyes with Lucas close behind, Snake covering the rear. The newsroom fell silent when they walked in. 6 bikers in full cuts, and a 12-year-old boy who looked like he hadn't slept in days. "We're here to see Nadia Raines," Reyes announced. "Tell her it's about Marina Cole." A woman stood from a desk near the back, early 40s, dark hair pulled into a messy bun, glasses perched on her head, wearing a blouse stained with coffee. She stared at them, her expression shifting from confusion to recognition to something that looked like fear. "Conference room," she said quietly. "Now." They followed her into a glass-walled room. Nadia closed the blinds and locked the door, then turned to face them. Her hands were shaking. "Marina's dead," she said. "She's been dead for 3 years. Why are you?" Her eyes landed on Lucas, and she stopped breathing. "Oh my God. You're her son." Lucas nodded. "She told you about me?" "She told me everything." Nadia sank into a chair, pressing her palms against her eyes. "She came to me 18 months before she died. She'd found evidence of a trafficking operation, girls being moved through the port, disappearing into the system. She wanted help verifying what she'd discovered, understanding the financial trails." "You helped her," Reyes said. "I did more than help. We co-authored 3 articles exposing labor trafficking in the shipping industry. We were careful, didn't name names, but we documented patterns. The pieces won awards." Nadia's voice cracked. "Then Marina told me she was going deeper, investigating the Rojas cartel specifically. I begged her to stop. I told her it was suicide. She didn't stop," Lucas said softly. "No. She didn't." Nadia looked at him with red-rimmed eyes. "She came to me one last time, 3 days before she died. She brought a package, said it was insurance. If anything happened to her, I was supposed to publish everything. Names, photos, recordings, all of it." The room went electric. "Where's the package?" Snake demanded. Nadia's laugh was bitter. Gone. The day after Marina's funeral, someone broke into my apartment. They took the package and left a note, "Stay quiet or join her." I filed a police report. Officer Martinez took my statement and said there was nothing they could do. Martinez, Lucas breathed. He's dirty. He's in Mom's files, taking payments. I know, Nadia said. I figured it out later. By then, I was terrified. I stopped investigating. I wrote puff pieces about local businesses and school board meetings. I kept my head down and hated myself for it. She looked at Lucas. I promised your mother I'd publish her work. I broke that promise. Lucas reached into his backpack and pulled out a USB drive, a copy he'd made of Marina's evidence. He set it on the conference table. You can keep it now, he said. Nadia stared at the drive like it was a bomb. Is this everything Mom collected? Lucas confirmed. Photos, recordings, documents, financial records. Every piece of evidence she died protecting. It's all there. Nadia picked up the drive with trembling hands, tears streaming down her face. How did you? Mom hid the originals in a storage unit. She was too smart to keep only one copy. Lucas's voice was steady, but his eyes blazed. She trusted you. She believed you'd do the right thing. And now I'm asking you to keep that promise. They'll kill me, Nadia whispered. The moment I publish this, they'll come for me. They're already coming, Reyes said bluntly. The cartel knows Marina had a son. They know we're protecting him. This war is happening whether you publish or not. The only question is whether Marina's death meant something. Nadia plugged the USB into her laptop, hands still shaking. Files populated the screen, hundreds of them. She opened a photo at random, 3 men loading wooden crates marked machinery into a warehouse. The timestamp showed 2:47 a.m. She opened another, a spreadsheet tracking payments to a dozen officials. Another, an audio file. She pressed play. Marina's voice filled the room. They're moving a shipment Tuesday night. 20 girls, maybe more. I got close enough to hear them crying through the container walls. God help me, I couldn't do anything. Not yet. But soon. Soon I'll have enough to stop this. Nadia closed her eyes, tears tracking down her cheeks. When she opened them again, something had changed. The fear was still there, but it was burning alongside something stronger. Fury. I kept silent for 3 years, she said. I let them win. I let Marina's sacrifice be for nothing. She looked at Lucas. Not anymore. She pulled out her phone and started making calls. I need my editor, my lawyer, and every investigative reporter we trust. Conference room, 1 hour. We're breaking the biggest story this state has seen in a decade. Snake grinned. That's more like it. But, Nadia continued, looking at Reyes, publishing takes time. I need to verify sources, coordinate with legal, make sure everything is airtight. If we rush this and make mistakes, the cartel's lawyers will bury us in lawsuits and nothing sticks. I need 48 hours minimum. 48 hours, Rufio repeated. The cartel will know we're moving. They'll escalate. Let them, Reyes said grimly. We've been playing defense. Time to push back. Nadia stood, still holding the USB drive. Lucas, your mother was the bravest person I ever met. She walked into hell to save people she'd never met, knowing it might kill her. And it did. But because of you, because of this, she held up the drive. Her death wasn't in vain. Lucas felt something break loose in his chest, 3 years of grief and rage finally finding purpose. Publish it all, he said. Make sure everyone knows who she really was. Nadia smiled through her tears. I promise. This time, I won't let her down. Outside the conference room, reporters were gathering, sensing a story. Nadia opened the door and addressed them. Clear your schedules. We're about to expose the biggest trafficking operation in state history. And we're going to do it right. As the newsroom erupted into activity, Reyes put a hand on Lucas's shoulder. Your mom would be proud, he said quietly. Lucas looked up at him. We're not done yet. No, Reyes agreed, his expression darkening. We're not. Because the cartel's going to come at us hard once they realize what we're doing. The next 48 hours are going to be hell. Snake checked her phone, then swore. Make that sooner. Just got word, cartel vehicles spotted heading toward the clubhouse. At least 6 SUVs. They're making their move, Rufio said. Reyes's jaw tightened. Then so are we. Everyone back to base. We're about to find out just how far they're willing to go. The motel sat off Highway 17 like a forgotten relic, peeling paint, flickering vacancy sign, and just enough distance from civilization to feel isolated. Reyes had chosen it deliberately after the call came through. Detective Frank Morrison wanted to meet. Alone. About protecting Lucas through official channels. Morrison had been Marina's contact in the police department, one of the few cops she'd trusted. His name appeared in her notes as potentially clean, which in Marina's world was high praise. I don't like this, Snake said, checking her weapon for the 3rd time. They'd taken 2 rooms on the ground floor, positioning themselves with clear sight lines to the parking lot. Lucas sat on one of the beds, watching the serpents prepare. Morrison came to Viper's funeral, Reyes reminded her. He sent flowers every year after. If anyone in the department can help us, it's him. Or he's the best actor in the cartel's pocket, Rufio muttered, peering through the curtains. A sedan pulled into the lot, unmarked but clearly official. Detective Morrison emerged, mid-50s with gray hair and a rumpled suit. He looked around nervously before approaching their room. Reyes opened the door. Detective. Reyes, Morrison stepped inside, nodding to the others. His eyes found Lucas. So the rumors are true. Marina had a son. What do you know about the rumors? Snake asked sharply. Morrison held up his hands. Only what I've heard whispered through channels the last few days. The cartel's looking for a boy connected to the serpents. I put it together, he looked at Lucas sadly. I'm sorry about your mother. She was trying to do something good. She succeeded, Lucas said. We have all her evidence. Morrison's expression shifted, surprise, then something Lucas couldn't quite read. Evidence? I thought the cartel destroyed everything when Marina died. She was smarter than they gave her credit for, Reyes said. Multiple copies, hidden locations. We have it all, photos, recordings, documents proving the Rojas cartel's operation and everyone on their payroll. Including dirty cops, Rufio added, watching Morrison carefully. Morrison nodded slowly. Then you need protection. Official protection. I can arrange for Lucas to enter protective custody, get him somewhere safe while we build a case. We're already building the case, Snake interrupted. Journalists involved. Story breaks in 48 hours. Morrison went pale. A journalist? Which one? Does it matter? Reyes asked. It matters because the cartel has people everywhere. Media, police, even federal agencies have been compromised. If you go public before we can secure proper protection, Morrison rubbed his face. Look, I understand you don't trust easily. But I can help. I have contacts in the FBI, people Marina was supposed to meet with before she died. Let me coordinate this properly. It sounded reasonable. Even Lucas felt himself wanting to believe it. Then Morrison's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his expression tightening for just a fraction of a second. Snake saw it too. Her hand moved toward her weapon. "Who texted you?" she asked quietly. "My wife. She worries when I work late." Morrison smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Look, I know this is difficult. But I need to know where you're staying, how to reach you, so I can coordinate." "No," Rufio said flatly. He'd moved to the window again, and his body language had changed. "Reyes. We've got company." Everyone moved at once. Through the gap in the curtains, Lucas saw vehicles pulling into the motel lot, 3 black SUVs, moving fast, boxing them in. Morrison backed toward the door. "I don't know what." Snake grabbed him, slamming him against the wall. "You sold us out. That text was confirmation of our location." "I didn't, I wouldn't." Morrison's protests died as Snake pulled his phone from his pocket. The screen showed a message, "Targets confirmed. Room 12. Reyes's expression went cold. "You were Marina's friend." "I had no choice." Morrison's composure cracked. "The cartel has my daughter. They took her 3 months ago, said if I didn't cooperate, they'd kill her. I've been feeding them information, keeping her alive. When I heard about the boy, they told me to find him or." His voice broke. "I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry." "Your daughter's already dead," Rufio said bluntly. "That's how they operate. They made you dirty, now you're a liability." Doors slammed outside. Voices shouted orders in Spanish. Reyes grabbed Lucas. "Rufio, Snake, we go out the back window. Morrison, you're going to walk outside and tell them we're in here. Buy us 60 seconds. They'll kill me," Morrison whispered. "You killed yourself the moment you made that call," Snake said coldly. "But if you've got any honor left, you'll die giving us time to save this kid." Morrison looked at Lucas, tears streaming down his face. "I really am sorry. Your mother was a good person. Better than me." Then he walked out the front door. Lucas heard him shouting, "They're in room 12. 3 adults and the boy. They're armed." Gunfire erupted. Morrison's voice cut off mid-sentence. "Move." Reyes shoved the back window open. Snake went first, rolling into the desert scrub behind the motel. Rufio pushed Lucas through, then followed. Reyes came last, pulling the window closed behind them. They ran low through the darkness, heading for where they'd stashed 2 motorcycles as backup. Behind them, Lucas heard doors being kicked in, Spanish curses, more gunfire. "They're shooting the rooms," Snake panted as they ran. "Making sure." They reached the bikes, 2 Harleys hidden behind a maintenance shed. Reyes pulled Lucas onto his bike while Snake and Rufio mounted the other. Engines roared to life just as cartel members rounded the building. Bullets sparked off metal as they peeled out, tires kicking up gravel. Lucas pressed himself against Reyes's back, heart hammering so hard he thought it might explode. They hit the highway at 90 miles per hour, the motel disappearing behind them. Lucas glanced back and saw flames. The cartel had torched the rooms. "Where are we going?" Lucas shouted over the wind. "Somewhere they won't think to look," Reyes shouted back. They rode for 20 minutes before pulling off onto a dirt road. It led to an old scrapyard, mountains of crushed cars and industrial debris. Reyes killed the engine, and suddenly the night was too quiet. Morrison was supposed to be clean, Snake said, her voice shaking with rage. Marina trusted him. Marina noted him as potentially clean, Lucas corrected quietly. She never fully trusted anyone outside the club. Rufio kicked at the dirt. "We're compromised. They knew where we were, which means they're tracking us somehow. Phone? Vehicle GPS. Or they're watching everywhere," Reyes said grimly. He pulled out his phone and saw a message from Iron Mike, clubhouse under siege. Holding but barely. Need backup. They're hitting everything at once, Snake realized. The motel, the clubhouse. They're trying to wipe us out in one night. Lucas felt something cold settle in his stomach. Rufio had been right to be suspicious. His mother had been betrayed. Now they were being hunted from all sides. We can't go back to the clubhouse, Reyes decided. We'd lead them straight to our brothers. We need to disappear until Nadia publishes. 48 hours. We just have to survive 48 hours. In a scrapyard? Rufio looked around skeptically. In enemy territory, Reyes corrected. Somewhere so obvious they won't think to look. Somewhere they think they already control. Snake understood first. You want to hide in plain sight. In their territory. Reyes nodded. The industrial port. Where Marina gathered half her evidence. It's crawling with cartel, but they'll be looking outward, not checking their own backyard. It was insane. It was also brilliant. Lucas looked at the three bikers who'd risked everything to protect him, Viper's family, now his. Rufio was bleeding from where a bullet had grazed his arm during their escape. Snake's hands still shook with adrenaline. Reyes's face was carved from stone, but Lucas saw the fear beneath. They were terrified. But they weren't giving up. My mom chose you for a reason, Lucas said quietly. All of you. She knew you'd fight. Reyes put a hand on his shoulder. Your mom saved my life twice. Died protecting people she didn't even know. The least we can do is make sure her son lives long enough to see her story told. Then let's go to the port, Lucas said. Let's finish what she started. They mounted the bikes again, heading deeper into the night. Behind them, the motel burned. And somewhere in the city, the cartel was hunting. Nadia Raines's apartment was small and cluttered with books, newspapers, and takeout containers. She'd insisted they come after midnight, safer in darkness, and her neighbors wouldn't see bikers entering the building. I'm verifying sources, cross-referencing data, she explained, leading them inside. But there's so much material. Your mother was meticulous, but I need to understand the context of every file to make sure the story is bulletproof. Lucas, Reyes, Snake, and Rufio crowded into her living room. They'd left the port area carefully, using surface streets and alleyways, doubling back twice to ensure they weren't followed. Rufio's arm was bandaged now, but he moved stiffly. How long until you can publish? Reyes asked. 36 hours, maybe less if I can confirm these financial transactions. Nadia pulled up spreadsheets on her laptop. But I'm missing context on some of Marina's audio files. They're coded, she references locations and people by nicknames. Without a key, I'm guessing at meanings. Lucas moved closer to the screen. Let me listen. I've been through everything multiple times. I might recognize patterns. Nadia queued up an audio file. Marina's voice filled the room, and Lucas closed his eyes, letting the sound wash over him. Phoenix meeting confirmed for the 15th. The Snake told Raven the shipment's clean, but I counted 19 locks on that container. 19. That's not machinery. Phoenix is the port, Lucas said immediately. The Snake is a dock supervisor, Carlos Mendez. Raven is, he paused, searching his memory. Victor Rojas. The cartel boss's nephew. Mom used bird names for cartel leadership. Nadia typed notes furiously. How do you know this? She kept a notebook, old school, handwritten. It was in the storage unit with the digital files. I memorized it. Lucas opened his eyes. What else do you need? They worked through 6 more files, Lucas translating his mother's coded language. With each revelation, the picture became clearer, a massive operation moving drugs, guns, and people through the port with the help of corrupt officials at every level. Then Nadia opened a folder Lucas hadn't seen before. Wait. This file is strange. It's encrypted differently from the others, military-grade protection. I've been trying to crack it for 2 days. Let me see, Lucas said. The file name was simple, for _Lucas _ONLYMP4. The room went silent. She left you a message, Snake whispered. Lucas's hands shook as Nadia handed him the laptop. The password. I don't know what. Try her birthday, Reyes suggested gently. Wrong password. Try your birthday, Rufio said. Lucas typed in the numbers. The file unlocked. A video player opened, and suddenly his mother's face filled the screen. She was in the storage unit. Lucas recognized the metal walls behind her. She looked tired, thinner than in the photographs he'd seen, but her eyes were fierce. Hi, baby, Marina said, and Lucas's vision blurred with tears. If you're watching this, then something went wrong. I'm sorry. God, Lucas, I'm so sorry. She took a shaky breath. You're probably 12 now, maybe older. I hope you grew up safe with Aunt Rachel. I hope you never had to know about any of this ugliness. But if you're seeing this video, then someone found my evidence, which means the truth is coming out. Marina leaned closer to the camera. I need you to know something. I didn't investigate the cartel because I was reckless or because I had a death wish. I did it because I'm your mother, and I couldn't let you grow up in a world where monsters operate freely. There are people, mostly young women, being trafficked through this port. Stolen from their families. Sold like property. And I couldn't look at you, couldn't watch you grow, and do nothing about that. Tears streamed down Lucas's face. Reyes's hand squeezed his shoulder. I documented everything, Marina continued. Names, faces, transactions. The Rojas cartel controls the operation, but they have help, police officers, customs officials, city councilmen. I'm listing them now. Listen carefully. For the next 3 minutes, Marina named specific people with specific crimes. Detective Morrison appeared on her list. She'd suspected him months before his betrayal. Port Authority Director James Chen. City Councilman Robert Pierce. 6 patrol officers. 2 federal customs agents. A district attorney. Nadia typed frantically, recording every name. These people, Marina said, her voice hardening, enable horror. They profit from suffering. And they think they're untouchable because they operate in shadows. But sunlight kills shadows. Truth kills lies. And this evidence, she held up a USB drive identical to the one Lucas had found, is their death sentence. Marina's expression softened. Lucas, I know you're probably angry with me. Angry that I took this risk, that I left you alone. You have every right to be. But I hope someday you understand. I hope you grow up to be someone who fights for people who can't fight for themselves. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. She wiped her eyes. The serpents will protect you if you find them. Reyes especially, he's family. Trust them. And Nadia Raines, the journalist, she's good people. She'll help you tell this story. Marina stared directly into the camera, and for a moment, Lucas felt like she could actually see him. I love you more than anything in this world, she said. You are my reason for everything. If I die fighting these monsters, know that it wasn't for nothing. It was for you. It was always for you. She reached forward. Don't let them bury the truth, baby. Don't let them. The video ended. Lucas sat frozen, tears streaming down his face. The room was completely silent except for his quiet sobs. Snake knelt in front of him. She loved you so much, Lucas. Everything she did. I know, Lucas choked out. I know. But it doesn't make it hurt less. Reyes's voice was thick with emotion. She was the best of us. The absolute best. Nadia saved the video, then pulled up a new document. I have everything I need now. Every name she listed, I can cross-reference with the evidence in her other files. This story is airtight. They can't fight the truth when it's this comprehensive. How long? Rufio asked. 18 hours. I'll work through the night, have my editor review at dawn, and we publish tomorrow evening. Nadia looked at Lucas. Your mother's story will be front page. Everyone will know what she did. Who she was. Lucas wiped his face, something hardening inside him. The grief was still there, it would always be there, but beside it burned something fiercer. Purpose. There's something else, he said, pulling up another folder. Mom hid something in one of her photographs. I noticed it last week but didn't understand what it meant. He opened an image, his mother standing in front of a warehouse, dated 2 days before her death. Behind her, barely visible, was a shipping container with numbers and symbols marked on its side. I've seen this container in other photos, Lucas explained. It appears 6 times across 3 months, always in different locations but always with the same markings. Mom was tracking it. Nadia zoomed in. Those symbols. They're not random. That's a routing code. A routing code for what? Snake asked. Lucas pulled up Marina's notes, found the entry he was looking for. Mom wrote, the ghost container. Arrives every 6 weeks. Never officially logged. Never inspected. Contains the highest value cargo. She was planning to photograph it on its next arrival. When was the next arrival? Reyes demanded. Lucas checked the date on the video. 2 days after she recorded this. The day after she died. Understanding dawned on everyone simultaneously. She was murdered before she could photograph it, Rufio said. Which means whatever's in that container was important enough to kill for. Nadia pulled up a shipping database, typing rapidly. If the pattern held, and the container arrives every 6 weeks, she calculated. The next arrival is tomorrow night. Midnight. Port Elizabeth, dock 7-inch. The room went electric. We need to be there, Lucas said immediately. Absolutely not, Reyes countered. We photograph it, document whatever they're moving, and we get out. No heroics. I'm going, Lucas said firmly. This is what Mom died trying to expose. I'm not sitting it out. Snake looked at Reyes. He's right. And he can identify cartel members on sight. He's an asset. Reyes stared at Lucas for a long moment, seeing Marina's stubborn determination reflected back at him. Fine, he said finally. But you stay in the vehicle, out of sight, with Snake. Rufio and I handle reconnaissance. First sign of trouble, we extract. Deal? Deal, Lucas agreed. Nadia stood. I'm coming too. I need first-hand documentation, photos, video. Marina died for this story. I'm seeing it through to the end. Then we all go, Reyes said grimly. Tomorrow night. We finish what Viper started. Outside, dawn was breaking. 18 hours until the story published. 24 hours until the ghost container arrived. And somewhere in the city, the Rojas cartel was still hunting. But for the first time since his mother's death, Lucas felt something other than grief. He felt hope. The call came at noon. Iron Mike's voice crackled through Reyes's phone, tight with stress. We've got a problem. Multiple problems. They'd taken refuge in Nadia's apartment, catching a few hours of sleep in shifts. Lucas jerked awake at the sound of Mike's voice, instantly alert. Talk to me, Reyes said, putting the phone on speaker. The cartels locked down the city. They've got checkpoints on every major highway, SUVs with armed men, checking vehicles. They're not even hiding it anymore. They're calling it security measures for some bullshit city event, but we all know what they're really doing. Looking for us, Snake said grimly. Gets worse. Local PD is harassing club members. 6 brothers arrested in the last 4 hours on bogus charges, traffic violations, unpaid parking tickets. One guy got hit with a noise complaint from 3 years ago. They're clearing us off the streets. Rufio swore. They're isolating us. Cut our numbers, limit our movement. How's the clubhouse? Reyes asked. Still standing, but barely. We've got 12 brothers here, fortified, but we're running low on supplies. They've got surveillance on every approach. We can't get reinforcements in or out without being spotted. Lucas moved to the window, carefully peering through the blinds. The street below looked normal, morning traffic, people walking dogs, a mail truck making rounds. But now that he knew what to look for, he saw them, 2 men in a parked sedan, watching. Another man on a bench across the street, pretending to read a newspaper. They're watching Nadia's building, Lucas said quietly. Everyone moved to look. Snake pulled her weapon, checking the magazine. They haven't moved in, Nadia observed. Why? Because they're not sure we're here, Reyes said. They're watching everywhere we might be. The moment we confirm our location, they'll strike. Iron Mike's voice came through again. There's more. Our contacts in the Port Authority just went dark, won't return calls. And get this, massive police presence at Port Elizabeth starting at 8 p.m. tonight. They're calling it a security drill, but the timing's suspicious. The ghost container, Lucas breathed. They know someone's onto it. Or they're protecting it extra carefully, Rufio added. Either way, getting near that dock tonight just became 10 times harder. Reyes paced, thinking. Mike, what's our count? How many serpents are still mobile? Maybe 15, scattered across the city. Everyone else is locked down, arrested, or pinned in the clubhouse. We're effectively cut in half. The weight of that settled over the room. The serpents had always operated on strength in numbers. Now they were fractured, isolated, hunted. They're preparing something big, Nadia said, her journalist instincts kicking in. This level of coordination, checkpoints, arrests, port security, it's not just about finding Lucas. They're protecting their operation. She pulled up her laptop, typing rapidly. The shipping manifests I've been tracking. There's a pattern. Every 6 weeks, the port sees a spike in machinery shipments that arrive late at night and leave before dawn. No inspections, fast-tracked through customs. The ghost container, Lucas said. But what's in it that's worth this much protection? Snake looked at the screen. Your mom's notes mentioned high-value cargo. Drugs? Guns? Could be people, Rufio said darkly. Trafficking victims. Highest profit margin, hardest to trace. Nadia scrolled through more files. Marina's last few recordings focus on the container. She was convinced it was the key to everything, proof so damning the cartel would have no choice but to shut down operations entirely. Lucas remembered his mother's video message, "Don't let them bury the truth." She died trying to photograph this container. He couldn't let her sacrifice be meaningless. We're still going tonight, he said firmly. Lucas, Reyes started. My mom died for this. We're 18 hours from her story going public, but if we can photograph what's in that container, we add irrefutable proof. We show the world exactly what they're protecting. Lucas met Reyes's eyes. You said we're going to war. This is how we win. Reyes looked at Snake, at Rufio, reading their expressions. Finally, he nodded. Mike, coordinate with our mobile brothers. We need a distraction, something big enough to pull cartel attention away from the port at midnight. What kind of distraction? Mike asked. The kind that makes them think we're attacking their distribution center on the south side. Loud, visible, impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, our real team hits the port. That's suicide for whoever runs the distraction, Mike said quietly. I know. That's why I'm asking for volunteers only. Anyone who doesn't want to risk it walks away, no judgment. There was a pause, then Mike's voice came back stronger. You know every brother's going to volunteer. That's what family does. Reyes smiled sadly. Yeah. I know. Coordinate it. Midnight, south side. Make it spectacular. As Mike disconnected, Nadia stood. I need to finalize the article. Once we have photos from tonight, I'll add them and we publish. But I'm running out of time, my editor's getting nervous about legal exposure. The cartel has lawyers on retainer who could bury us in lawsuits. Then we make sure the evidence is too strong to dispute, Snake said. Tonight, we get everything. A knock at the door froze everyone. Weapons appeared instantly, Snake's pistol, Rufio's knife, Reyes reaching for his concealed carry. Nadia checked the peephole, then relaxed slightly. It's Mrs. Chen, my neighbor. She's 80 and barely sees. She opened the door a crack. An elderly woman stood there, smiling apologetically. I'm so sorry to bother you, dear. But there are some men asking about you downstairs. They said they're police, but they didn't show badges properly. I thought you should know. Nadia's face went pale. Thank you, Mrs. Chen. I appreciate the warning. The old woman left, and Nadia locked the door quickly. We need to move. Now. Back exit, Reyes ordered. Rufio, Snake, secure our route. Lucas, stay between us. Nadia, bring your laptop, we can't lose that work. They moved fast, grabbing essential gear. Lucas shoved his backpack on, making sure the USB drive was secure in his pocket. Through the window, he saw more men arriving, 6 total now, moving toward the building's entrance. The back stairwell was narrow and dark. They descended quickly, boots echoing on concrete. 2 floors down, they heard voices above them, the cartel had breached the building. They're coming from above and below, Snake whispered, hearing footsteps rising from the ground floor. We're trapped. Reyes tried a door on the 3rd floor, locked. Rufio kicked it open, and they spilled into a hallway of apartments. An elderly man opened his door, eyes wide. Fire drill, Reyes said quickly. Stay inside, lock your door. They found a window at the end of the hall overlooking an alley. Rufio smashed it open. Fire escape, he said. Move. One by one, they climbed out onto the rusty metal structure. Lucas looked down, 3 stories, but the ladder extended to the ground. Behind them, he heard doors being kicked in, shouts in Spanish. They descended rapidly, feet clanging on metal. Lucas was halfway down when he saw movement in the alley below, 2 cartel members, running toward them. Contact below. Snake shouted. Reyes didn't hesitate. He jumped the last 10 feet, hitting the ground hard and charging the first man. They collided, Reyes using his size and momentum to drive the man into a wall. Snake dropped next, engaging the second man. Rufio lowered Lucas as far as possible, then let him drop. Lucas hit the pavement, rolled, and came up running. Behind them, more cartel members were climbing out the window onto the fire escape. The bikes. Nadia pointed to where they'd hidden 2 motorcycles behind a dumpster. They ran. Engines roared to life. Lucas climbed on behind Reyes, Nadia squeezed between Rufio and Snake on the second bike. Gunfire cracked behind them. A bullet sparked off the dumpster inches from Lucas's head. Then they were moving, screaming out of the alley onto the street. Cars swerved, horns blared. Behind them, SUVs were already mobilizing, giving chase. "They're hurting us," Snake shouted. "Every route out of downtown is blocked." Reyes swerved through traffic, heading toward the industrial district. It was a maze of warehouses and factories, easy to lose pursuit, but also easy to get trapped. "We need to disappear for 12 hours, Reyes said. "Just 12 more hours until the story breaks and the FBI can't ignore it." "The port," Lucas said suddenly. "We hide at the port. They'll never expect us to go there early, they think we're running away, not toward them." It was insane. It was also their only option. Reyes gunned the engine, and they shot toward Port Elizabeth as the cartel closed in from all sides. The net was tightening. But they weren't caught yet. Midnight arrived with fog rolling off the ocean, turning Port Elizabeth into a maze of shadows and muted sounds. Lucas crouched beside Snake in an old maintenance shed 50 yards from Dock 7, watching through cracked windows as the cartel's operation unfolded. They'd hidden at the port for 12 hours, moving between abandoned buildings and shipping containers, staying ahead of security patrols. Reyes had been right, the cartel never imagined they'd hide in plain sight. Now, as the ghost container's arrival approached, they had front-row seats to what Marina had died trying to expose. "There," Rufio whispered, pointing. A cargo ship was docking, smaller than the commercial vessels but moving with purpose. No lights except mandatory navigation beacons. No company markings visible. Through binoculars, Lucas counted 12 men on the dock, all armed, all wearing casual clothes that didn't hide their weapons. He recognized 3 faces from his mother's photographs. "That's Victor Rojas," he said quietly, indicating a man in an expensive leather jacket directing operations. "The nephew." Mom called him Raven. Reyes, positioned at another window with Nadia, spoke into his radio. "Mike, status?" Static crackled. "In position, south side. 18 brothers ready. Just say the word. Wait for my signal. We need to see what's in that container first." A massive crane rumbled to life, moving toward the ship. Lucas watched as dock workers, cartel-controlled, based on their coordination, secured cables to a specific container. It was painted dark blue, unmarked except for a routing code his mother had documented. The ghost container. As it swung through the air toward the dock, Lucas heard something that made his blood run cold. Banging. From inside the container. Frantic, desperate pounding. "Oh God," Nadia breathed. "There are people in there." Snake's hand tightened on her weapon. "How many?" The container touched down. Victor Rojas approached with 2 men carrying bolt cutters. They worked on the locks, not standard shipping locks, but heavy-duty padlocks. 19 of them, just like Marina had noted. The doors swung open. Even from 50 yards away, Lucas could see women stumbling out, young, terrified, some barely able to stand. 23 by his count, ranging from late teens to early 20s. They wore dirty clothes, looked dehydrated and traumatized. "Jesus Christ," Reyes whispered. "Trafficking victims." Nadia's hands shook as she raised her camera, snapping photos with a telephoto lens. "This is it. This is what Marina died trying to document." Victor Rojas was speaking to his men, gesturing toward waiting vans. Lucas strained to hear, caught fragments of Spanish, something about buyers waiting and premium merchandise. These were human beings being discussed like products. Lucas felt rage burn through him, the same fire that had driven his mother to risk everything. These women had families, lives, futures, all stolen by monsters like Victor Rojas. "We have to stop this," he said. "We are stopping it," Nadia replied, still photographing. "These photos, combined with Marina's evidence, it's over for them. The FBI will have no choice but to act." "That's tomorrow," Lucas said. These women are being loaded into vans tonight. What happens to them before tomorrow? Reyes met his eyes, and Lucas saw the same internal war, the desire to act immediately versus the knowledge that their mission was documentation, not rescue. Then Reyes's expression hardened. Change of plans. Mike, execute the distraction now. Make it loud. Copy that. Going hot in 60 seconds. Reyes turned to his team. Here's what's happening. We're not just documenting anymore, we're shutting this down. Snake, Nadia, you stay here and keep recording. Get every face, every vehicle, everything. Ruffio, Lucas, with me. We're going to make sure those women don't get in those vans. Reyes, we're 4 people, Ruffio said. They have 12 armed men down there. We have surprise, righteousness, and we're about to have a massive distraction. Reyes checked his weapon. Plus, we're serpents. Since when do we back down from a fight? An explosion echoed across the city, distant but unmistakable. Sirens wailed. More explosions followed in rapid succession. Every head on the dock turned toward the sound. That's our cue, Reyes said. For Viper. For these women. Let's ride. They moved fast, using fog and containers for cover. Lucas stayed close to Reyes, heart hammering. He'd never been in real danger like this. The motel had been chaos and escape, but this was deliberate, walking into violence. Victor Rojas was on his phone, shouting orders. Half his men were running toward vehicles, responding to the explosions. The distraction was working. That left 6 men guarding the women and vans. Reyes, Ruffio, and Lucas reached a container 20 yards from the dock. Through the gap, Lucas could see the women being roughly shoved toward the vans, crying, pleading in Spanish and broken English. On my mark, Reyes whispered. We disable the vans first, shoot the tires, engines. Then we engage. Ruffio, left side. I've got right. Lucas. I know, Lucas interrupted. Stay down, stay safe, stay alive. Reyes smiled grimly. You're learning. But before Reyes could give the signal, headlights swept across the dock from an unexpected direction. A convoy of vehicles, not cartel SUVs, but official federal vehicles with FBI emblazoned on the sides. 8 vehicles. At least 30 agents, emerging with weapons drawn. Federal agents. Hands in the air. Chaos erupted. Cartel members reached for weapons. FBI agents opened fire. The women screamed, dropping to the ground. What the hell? Ruffio breathed. How did they? Lucas understood first. Nadia published early. She must have sent everything to the FBI before we left her apartment. On the dock, Victor Rojas tried to run. An FBI agent tackled him, driving him face first into the concrete. Other agents were securing the women, wrapping them in emergency blankets, calling for medical assistance. It was over in minutes. The cartel members who didn't immediately surrender were subdued. The ghost container stood open, its horrific cargo now evidence. Reyes stood slowly, holstering his weapon. Well. That's one way to do it. A figure approached through the fog, an FBI agent, mid-40s, with sharp eyes and an air of authority. She stopped 10 feet away, her hand resting on her sidearm. Reyes Santos, president of the Serpents MC. I'm Special Agent Sarah Chen. Marina Cole was supposed to meet with me 3 years ago. She never showed up. The same Agent Chen from Marina's recordings. The clean FBI agent she'd trusted. She was murdered before she could reach you, Reyes said. We have proof. I know. A journalist named Nadia Rain sent me everything 2 hours ago, files, recordings, photographs, everything Marina documented. Chen looked toward the shed where Snake and Nadia were hiding. You can come out. All of you. You're not under arrest. Snake and Nadia emerged cautiously. Chen's eyes swept over them, then landed on Lucas. And you must be Lucas Cole. Your mother was one of the bravest people I never got to meet. I'm sorry we couldn't protect her. Lucas stepped forward, no longer afraid. She didn't need protection. She needed people to listen. To act. To finish what she started. Chen nodded slowly. We're listening now. We're acting now. As of 30 minutes ago, federal warrants were issued for 47 individuals connected to the Rojas cartel, including 5 police officers, 2 customs officials, and 1 city councilman. We have teams executing arrests across 3 states. More vehicles arrived, police, paramedics, additional FBI units. The dock transformed into a controlled crime scene. The women were being helped into ambulances, finally safe after who knew how long in hell. Victor Rojas was dragged past them in handcuffs, blood streaming from his nose. He saw Lucas and stopped struggling, his eyes widening in recognition. You're the kid, he spat. Marina's kid. You should have stayed hidden. Lucas stepped closer, flanked by Reyes and Snake. My mom wasn't afraid of you. Neither am I. Your mother's dead because she couldn't mind her own business. Reyes moved faster than Lucas thought possible, slamming Victor against a container. Say one more word about Viper and you'll need reconstructive surgery. She died a hero. You're dying in a federal prison. Remember that difference. FBI agents pulled Reyes back, dragged Victor away. Chen watched the exchange without intervening, then turned to Reyes. I need statements from all of you. But not here, not now. Tomorrow, FBI field office, 9 a.m. Fair? Fair, Reyes agreed. Chen looked at Lucas again. Your mother's evidence is going to dismantle one of the largest trafficking operations in the region. 23 women are going home tonight because of what she documented. That number would be higher if we'd gotten here sooner, but, she paused. She didn't die for nothing, Lucas. I promise you that. Lucas felt tears on his face but didn't wipe them away. Thank you. As Chen walked away, coordinating the scene, Nadia approached with her camera. I got everything, she said quietly. The container, the women, the arrests, all of it. Marina's story publishes in 3 hours, front page, online edition going live nationwide. Everyone will know what she did. Who she was. Lucas looked around the dock, at the FBI agents, the rescued women, the cartel members in handcuffs. His mother had stood in this exact spot, documenting evil, knowing it might kill her. And it had killed her. But her death had saved 23 lives tonight. And it would save countless more as the investigation expanded. Reyes put a hand on Lucas's shoulder. Your mom would be proud. You finished her mission. Lucas shook his head. We finished it. All of us. That's what family does. Snake wiped her eyes. Rufio nodded slowly. Even these hardened bikers were crying now, grief and triumph mixing together. In the distance, the explosions had stopped. The distraction was over. And somewhere in the city, Iron Mike and the other serpents were safe, victorious. The war wasn't over, there would be trials, testimony, years of legal battles. But tonight, they'd won. For Viper. For the women she'd saved. For justice. Dawn broke over a city transformed. Lucas sat in the FBI field office's waiting room, exhausted but unable to sleep, watching news coverage on a mounted television. The story had exploded across every channel. Breaking overnight, massive human trafficking ring dismantled at Port Elizabeth. 23 victims rescued. 47 arrests across 3 states, including high-ranking law enforcement officials. A anchor's face filled the screen, grave and serious. This unprecedented operation was made possible by evidence collected by Marina "Viper" Cole, a former motorcycle club member who spent months documenting cartel operations before her death in 2022. Her work, initially believed lost, was preserved by her 12-year-old son and brought to light by investigative journalist Nadia Raines. They showed Marina's photo, the one from her Serpent's days, leather jacket and fearless smile. Then footage from last night, the container, the women, Victor Rojas in handcuffs. Lucas watched his mother's face on national television and felt something shift inside him. She wasn't just his mom anymore. She was a symbol, a hero, recognized by the world. Lucas Cole? A young FBI agent approached. "Agent Chen is ready for you." The interview room was plain: table, chairs, recording equipment. Agent Chen sat across from him, her expression softer than last night. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "I'm okay," Lucas said automatically, then reconsidered. "No. I'm not okay. But I will be." Chen smiled sadly. "That's probably the most honest answer I've heard all morning." "Lucas, I need to ask you some questions about the evidence you found, how you accessed it, and what happened over the past few days. Everything you say is being recorded. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma'am." "Do you want a lawyer present?" "You have that right." "Do I need one?" Chen shook her head. "You're not in trouble. You're a minor who was protecting himself from a criminal organization. But you should know your rights." "Then I'm okay without one. I just want to tell the truth." For 2 hours, Lucas recounted everything, finding the storage unit, discovering his mother's evidence, placing the note at her grave, the Serpent's protection, Detective Morrison's betrayal, hiding at the port. Chen asked detailed questions but never pushed, never made him feel like a suspect. Finally, she leaned back. "You're incredibly brave, Lucas. But you took enormous risks. You could have been killed. So could my mom. She took those risks anyway because it was right." Lucas met her eyes. "Would you have wanted me to do anything different?" Chen considered that. "No. I suppose not. Your mother would be proud of who you're becoming." A knock interrupted them. Another agent entered, whispering something to Chen. Her expression shifted, surprise, then something like satisfaction. "Lucas, you should see this." She led him to a conference room where Reyes, Snake, Rufio, Nadia, and Iron Mike were gathered around a television. The news coverage had intensified. In a stunning development, federal prosecutors have announced RICO charges against the Rojas cartel and its associates. The evidence provided by Marina Cole forms the backbone of what prosecutors are calling the most comprehensive organized crime case in state history. The screen showed police stations across multiple cities. Officers being let out in handcuffs. Warehouses raided. Bank accounts frozen. Detective Frank Morrison, found dead at a motel 3 days ago, has been identified as a confidential informant who was killed attempting to alert authorities to the cartel's operations. Lucas blinked. "That's not what happened." "It's what needs to happen," Agent Chen said quietly. "Morrison betrayed you, yes. But he was coerced through threats to his daughter. We found her yesterday, alive, being held in a cartel safe house. Morrison's cooperation, limited as it was, helped us locate her. We're allowing him to die with some dignity for his family's sake." It wasn't the whole truth, but Lucas understood. Some lies serve justice better than complicated facts. The news continued. City Councilman Robert Pierce has resigned amid allegations of accepting bribes. Port Authority Director James Chen is under arrest. District Attorney's Office announces special prosecutor will handle all cartel-related cases to avoid conflicts of interest. "They're scrambling," Nadia said with satisfaction. "Everyone who was on Marina's list is either arrested, under investigation, or running scared. The whole system is being purged. Perhaps most remarkably, the Rojas cartel's financial network is collapsing. Federal seizures have frozen over $40 million in assets, crippling the organization's operations across 6 states. Snake whistled. 40 million. Viper didn't just wound them, she destroyed them. The news anchor's expression shifted to something more personal. Marina Cole's story has captivated the nation. A mother who sacrificed everything to stop human trafficking. A son who risked his life to complete her mission. And a motorcycle club who protected that son against overwhelming odds. They showed footage from last night, grainy security camera video of the Serpent's distraction on the south side. Explosions, motorcycles, chaos designed to pull attention away from the port. The Serpent's motorcycle club, often viewed with suspicion by law enforcement, played a crucial role in this operation. Federal agents confirm that club members coordinated with FBI to ensure the safe rescue of trafficking victims. Reyes's eyebrows rose. Well, that's a first. Usually they just call us criminals. Agent Chen smiled slightly. The Bureau appreciates effective assistance, regardless of source. And for the record, we're dropping all pending charges against Serpent's members arrested in the days leading up to last night. Consider it. Gratitude. All charges? Iron Mike asked skeptically. All charges related to this investigation. Any existing warrants from other matters? Those still stand. Iron Mike grinned. Fair enough. The news shifted again. We go now to our reporter Sarah Mitchell, live outside the Metro Independent offices where journalist Nadia Raines is holding a press conference. Nadia straightened. That's in 20 minutes. I should go. We're coming with you, Lucas said immediately. Agent Chen nodded. I'll arrange transport. Lucas, the world wants to hear from you. You don't have to speak if you're not ready, but, she paused. Your mother's story deserves to be told by someone who loved her. If you want that person to be you, we'll support it. 20 minutes later, they stood outside the Metro Independent building. Media trucks lined the street, national networks, local stations, online journalists. Cameras everywhere. Reporters shouting questions. Nadia stood at a podium, flanked by her editor. Behind her, projected on a screen, was Marina's photograph. Lucas stood to the side with Reyes, Snake, and Rufio, the Serpents in full cuts, making a statement just by being there. 3 years ago, Nadia began, her voice steady despite obvious emotion, I made a promise to Marina Cole. I promised to tell her story, to expose the evil she'd documented, to make sure her sacrifice meant something. I broke that promise because I was afraid. But Marina's son didn't break his promise. At 12 years old, he found his mother's evidence and risked everything to bring it to light. Cameras swiveled toward Lucas. He forced himself not to look away. Marina Cole was murdered investigating the Rojas cartel. The evidence she collected over months of undercover work has led to 47 arrests, rescued 23 trafficking victims, and exposed corruption at every level of local government. Her work will save lives for years to come. She died a hero. She deserves to be remembered as 1 inch. Nadia stepped back, and her editor invited questions. Reporters shouted over each other. The editor pointed to one. Is it true Marina's son is here? Can we speak with him? Nadia looked at Lucas. He nodded and stepped forward. The crowd of reporters fell silent, sensing the gravity of the moment. Lucas stood at the podium, looking out at dozens of cameras, thinking about his mother standing in that port, alone, documenting evil because someone had to. My name is Lucas Cole, he said, his voice surprisingly steady. Marina Cole was my mom. She was the bravest person I've ever known. She fought for people she never met because she believed everyone deserves to be safe. She died doing that. And his voice cracked. I'm proud to be her son. A reporter called out, "What do you want people to know about your mother?" Lucas thought about the video message, her last words. "I want people to know she wasn't reckless. She wasn't careless. She knew exactly what she was risking and chose to do it anyway. That's not recklessness, that's courage. Real courage means being terrified but doing the right thing anyway." "What happens now?" another reporter asked. Lucas looked at Reyes, at the serpent standing behind him. "Now we make sure her work continues. The victims rescued last night need support. There are other trafficking operations still running. Other people who need help. Mom started this fight. We're going to finish it." The questions continued, but Agent Chen stepped forward, ending the conference. "That's enough for today. Lucas is a minor who's been through trauma. Please respect his privacy." As they left, reporters still calling questions, Lucas felt Reyes's hand on his shoulder. "You did good, kid. Your mom was watching. I guarantee it." Lucas looked back at the photograph of his mother, still projected behind the podium. "I hope so," he whispered. "I really hope so." 1 week later, Lucas stood at the cemetery gates, rain misting down just like that first night. But everything was different now. The cemetery wasn't empty this time. 20 serpents lined the pathway to Marina's grave, their motorcycles parked in perfect formation outside the fence. Reyes stood beside Lucas, and on his other side, Nadia held an umbrella over them both. Lucas carried a single white rose and a folded piece of paper. They walked together down row 7. Lucas counted the plots automatically, a habit now, like so many things his mother had taught him without meaning to. Attention to detail. Careful observation. Courage when it mattered most. Plot 14. Marina Viper Cole's headstone looked different in daylight. The engraved motorcycle seemed more detailed, the lettering sharper. Someone had placed fresh flowers, dozens of them, from people across the country who'd learned her story. Lucas knelt, setting his rose among the others. His hands trembled as he unfolded the paper. "I wasn't brave enough before," he read aloud, his voice carrying in the quiet cemetery. "I am now." He placed the note against the headstone, weighted down with a smooth stone. Behind him, Reyes raised his hand. As one, the serpents mounted their motorcycles. 20 engines roared to life. The sound was massive, primal, shaking the ground beneath Lucas's feet. It rolled across the cemetery like thunder, a declaration that couldn't be ignored. Not violence, celebration. Triumph. A promise kept. This was how the serpents honored their own. With noise and fury and absolute loyalty. The engines roared for a full minute, and Lucas felt it in his chest, in his bones. His mother had ridden with these people. Had fought beside them. Had died protecting them. And now they were honoring her in the only way that mattered to them, with everything they had. When the engines cut off, the silence felt sacred. Lucas stood, wiping his eyes. He wasn't embarrassed by the tears anymore. His mother had cried in her recordings, cried for the victims she was trying to save. Tears weren't weakness. They were proof you cared enough to fight. "She's famous now, you know," Nadia said softly. "Marina Cole is a household name. Schools are talking about teaching her story in civics classes. There's talk of a memorial." "She'd hate that," Lucas said with a small smile. "She didn't do it for fame. She did it because it was right." "I know. But her example matters. Already we're getting tips about other trafficking operations. People saw what one person with courage can accomplish. They're inspired." Nadia paused. "Your mother started something bigger than she knew." Agent Chen approached from the cemetery entrance, accompanied by a woman Lucas didn't recognize, late 20s, dark hair, eyes still haunted but healing. She held Chen's arm for support. "Lucas," Chen said gently. This is Maria Gonzalez. She was one of the women rescued from the container. Maria stepped forward, her English heavily accented but clear. I wanted to meet you. To thank you. You don't need to thank me, Lucas said quickly. I just. Please, Maria knelt to his eye level. For 2 months, I was in darkness. They took me from my home, told me I would die if I screamed. I believed them. I stopped hoping, tears streamed down her face. Then we were freed. Agent Chen, she told me about your mother. About you. About how you risked everything to finish what she started. Maria took Lucas's hands in hers. You gave me my life back. You gave 22 other women their lives back. Your mother saved us. You saved us. I have a daughter in Honduras, 3 years old. I will see her again because of you. Lucas couldn't speak. He just nodded, throat too tight for words. Maria stood and placed a hand on Marina's headstone. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for being brave. As Maria walked away with Chen, Lucas felt Reyes's hand on his shoulder. Your Aunt Rachel is waiting in the car, Reyes said. She called me this morning. Said she's ready to take you home, start figuring out the next steps. School, therapy, all the normal stuff you should have been doing instead of running from cartels. Normal, Lucas repeated. The word felt foreign. Yeah. You're 12, kid. You should be worrying about homework and friends, not traffickers and murder. Your mom would want you to have a normal life. Lucas looked around the cemetery, at the serpents, at his mother's grave, at the flowers from strangers who'd learned her story. I don't think my life is ever going to be normal. Snake walked over, her expression unusually soft. Maybe not. But you've got family now. Real family. The serpents don't forget loyalty, and we sure as hell don't abandon our own, she gestured to the other bikers. Every person here would take a bullet for you. That's what you are to us, family. Iron Mike approached on his mechanical leg, holding something wrapped in leather. We made you something. Every serpent gets their cut when they earn it. You're not old enough to ride with us, and God willing, you never will need to. But you earned this. He unwrapped the leather to reveal a small vest, a cut, sized for a 12-year-old. On the back, carefully stitched, the serpent emblem. And beneath it, words that made Lucas's eyes burn with fresh tears. Viper's legacy. You're not a member, Mike clarified. But your family. Honorary serpent, for life. You need anything, you call us. Understood? Lucas nodded, holding the cut like it was made of gold. Understood. Ruffio, who'd kept his distance until now, stepped forward. I was wrong about you, kid. Thought you should hide, stay safe. But you've got your mother's fire. That kind of courage? The world needs more of it, not less. One by one, the serpents approached, each offering words, pats on the shoulder, promises of protection. Lucas felt surrounded by giants, dangerous, loyal, and now permanently in his corner. Finally, only Reyes remained. Your mom saved my life twice, he said quietly. Once in a bar fight I was too drunk to win. Once by talking me out of revenge that would have gotten me killed. I owed her everything. When she died, I thought I'd never get a chance to pay that debt. He looked down at Lucas. But then you showed up at her grave, just a kid with a note and a USB drive, asking the most dangerous men you'd ever met for help. You trusted us. You gave us a chance to honor her memory. You let us pay our debt. Reyes knelt, meeting Lucas eye to eye. Your mother lives on through you. Every choice you make, every person you help, every time you choose courage over fear, that's her legacy. That's how she wins. We won, Lucas corrected. All of us together. Reyes smiled. Yeah. We did. From the parking lot, a car horn honked gently. Aunt Rachel, waiting. Time to return to some version of normal life. Lucas took one last look at his mother's grave. The note rested against the headstone, already dampening from mist. But the words remained visible. I wasn't brave enough before. I am now. Goodbye, Mom, Lucas whispered. I'll make you proud. I promise. The rain had stopped. Sunlight broke through clouds, illuminating the cemetery in gold. Lucas walked toward the parking lot, the small serpent cut folded carefully under his arm. Behind him, the bikers started their engines again, not a roar this time, but a steady rumble. A escort. A promise. They followed Lucas to the gates, 20 motorcycles in formation, seeing him safely to his aunt's car. Rachel got out, hugging him tightly, crying into his hair. I'm okay, Aunt Rachel, Lucas said. I'm going to be okay. As they drove away, Lucas looked back through the rear window. The serpent stood at the cemetery gates, watching until the car disappeared around a corner. Protecting him. Honoring Marina. Being family. The radio played softly, news reports still covering the trafficking case. Marina's name mentioned again. The investigation expanding. More arrests coming. More victims being found and freed. Her war wasn't won in a single night. It would take years of trials, investigations, and continued vigilance. But the momentum had shifted. The shadows had light shining into them. And somewhere in that light, Lucas could feel his mother's presence. Not gone, transformed. Living through every person inspired by her courage. Every victim saved because she documented the truth. Every child who'd grow up a little safer because one woman decided evil wasn't acceptable. You didn't die for nothing, Mom, Lucas whispered, too quiet for Aunt Rachel to hear. You changed everything. The city rolled past the windows, the same streets, the same buildings, but different now. Lucas was different too. Still 12. Still grieving. Still healing. But no longer afraid. His mother had taught him that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing to act despite it. She'd shown him that one person could make a difference. That truth mattered. That some fights were worth the cost. And as the car carried him toward home, toward therapy and school and the slow process of rebuilding a normal life, Lucas made himself a promise. He would live worthy of her sacrifice. He would help others when he could. He would never let fear stop him from doing what was right. Because he was Marina Viper Cole's son. And that meant something. That meant everything. The sun broke fully through the clouds, bathing the city in brilliant light. A new day. A new beginning. And somewhere, Lucas knew his mother was smiling. The end.